Welcome to Mind of Messiah Ministries. This is Sharon Cluck, and today I'm going to do something very different than what I've ever done on this channel before. I have a friend named Tammy. Tammy's Tinctures is what I've been calling her. She's my girlfriend, and we are both nurses, and I've been wanting to just add some things to this channel that give us natural ways of healing, that we're not always stuck with pharmaceutical solutions. So Tammy's going to do a short 16-minute teaching on how to make tinctures, teas, and how to use plants as healing agents. I think you're going to love this. I do. Stay tuned and enjoy. Give us a thumbs up, like, a share, and a subscribe. I'd appreciate it.
Hey everyone, it's Tammy, and today I just wanted to cover 5 homemade herbal remedies that I think everybody should have in their home medicine cabinet. And I believe that it is good to use natural herbs because they are, of course, natural. They are less expensive, they're easy to make, and they tend to come with no side effects or very few compared to the pharmaceutical remedies. And so we're going to cover that today, but let me share my screen here so that I can cover with you what I'd like to show today. So, before I begin, I do want to say that I'm not a doctor and nothing I share here is medical advice. I am simply sharing what I personally do, what I've learned, and what has been helpful in my own home. So always consult a qualified healthcare provider for personal medical questions and definitely research on your own. And with that said, let's dig in. So today, covering these herbs, I want to cover that this is really God's gift of healing plants. It's noted in the scripture in several different places, in Genesis, Ezekiel, and Revelation 22:2. The leaves of the trees were given for the healing of the nations. I do believe that the Lord gives us plants and herbs to heal our bodies, and our bodies just know what to do with those. So let's cover this today. I want to cover 3 different ways to use these herbs in teas, tinctures, and glycerites. And I am going to take the mystery out of this today. It's not complicated. Anyone can do it. You don't need to be an expert. You don't need a huge collection of supplies. You can start simple, and that is the whole point. So we all know what a tea is. We're going to use those herbs today. I'm going to show you how to make a tea. You're just pouring hot water over the herb, let it steep for 10 to 15 minutes. And that's the easiest way that most people are familiar with using herbs. And that's probably the best place to start. But I am going to also cover how to make a tincture and also show you how to make a glyceride and what those are. A tincture is basically just using herbs and you soak it in alcohol, usually 80 proof vodka, and that extracts the plant constituents. And usually this is concentrated in the long shelf life of 4 to 6 years. I prefer tinctures, but sometimes you don't want to have the alcohol or you want to make this for a child. And so you might want to use a glyceride. And that is something that is using the same process as a tincture, but you're using 75% vegetable glycerin and 25% distilled water. There's no alcohol involved in this. It can be used with kids and it's usually sweeter and easier to take. Some of those herbs are pretty bitter. So the top 5 remedies I think we should have today, we're going to cover oil of oregano. Most of you have probably heard of that. Oregano is a potent antifungal and gives antibiotic support. Another one, which is my absolute favorite, is mullein, and it grows around our property here, and I'll show you all about that. But that is really good for respiratory and lung support. A good one for pain support is wild lettuce and white willow, and a lot of you might have wild lettuce growing on your property or can find it easily, and so we'll cover that today. Another one is echinacea and elderberry, and you've probably all heard about that as well, and that's a good immune support system. The last one is garlic cloves in honey. So we'll show you that. Garlic is absolutely wonderful. It's an antimicrobial powerhouse. So we're going to cover that. And if we have time, we'll cover magnesium oil, which definitely is something that's very dear to my heart. And we'll cover all of that. So the first one is oil of oregano. Here is what an oregano plant looks like. And many of you have probably seen the oil in those kinds of bottles. I think Garden of Life makes a good one. This one's wild oregano oil. That one's a little bit more expensive, but very good. It's a Mediterranean source. So we're going to cover that today. So oil of oregano has antifungal, antibiotic, and antioxidant properties. It's used for a number of things, including athlete's foot, ear and sinus infections, digestive issues, but I like to use it mostly for antibiotic support, coughs and colds, bronchitis, things like that. You want to make sure when you do purchase oil of oregano that you are not buying the essential oil. That is not safe to ingest. And so when you purchase the oil of oregano, I put it in an empty vegetable capsule because it's pretty strong tasting. I suppose you could just put it in some water and drink it, but just start with a few drops and see how your body reacts. You can also dilute it in coconut oil, but it's very potent. And so you want to start slowly. A little goes a long way. And you can always use more if you don't react. Most people do not react, but just start with a few drops anytime you're starting a new herb. I use it at the first sign of any type of illness. So the next one now, let's move on to mullein. Here is what mullein looks like. This is how it's growing with the yellow flowers. We have that all over our property. And so you can collect that and dry it. And so we're going to talk about the dried version of mullein today. All right, here we go. Mullein. So mullein is great for respiratory support. You can make it into a tea or a tincture or a glycerite. And so mullein has really good expectorant properties. It thins the mucus, clears the respiratory tract. I find this to be better than cough medicine over the counter. So whenever you're coughing or you feel just tight in your lungs, you can take mullein. That you can put under your tongue as a tincture. You can make it as a tea or use it as a cough medicine as a glycerite. It has anti-inflammatory properties. It's like a mucilage with the flowers and the leaves. They coat the airways. It reduces inflammation. It is a cell protector, antioxidant, helps fight damage with your cells, and it also fights germs, really effective against pneumonia and staph and E. coli bacteria. It may also slow the influenza virus. So I definitely think that's number 2 that you should have in your medicine cabinet is mullein. I show you how to make it now. So this is just usnea that it's a lichen, and this is really good for immunity as well. But I'm just showing you basically how to make any type of tincture. So you need to have 100 proof vodka or at least 80 proof plus. That I have 100 proof. You fill your jar. And then you want to just fill the vodka at least to the top, make sure everything is covered. And so just basically that's all there is to it. Put your herb in a clean jar. I always put parchment paper if you're going to use a metal lid, just because the alcohol does react with the lid. And so really it's super easy. You're just going to fill it, make sure everything is covered. And then you want to shake it and put it in a dark cabinet and let it steep for 4 to 6 weeks. And so once that is steeped in 4 to 6 weeks in a cool, dark spot, you can strain it. I also don't strain the entire jar. I'll just strain the amount that I want to use. So I'll get a 2 ounce or 4 ounce amber dropper bottle. I'll strain what I need for that bottle, and I'll just keep the rest of the herb in the vodka steeping for as long as I need. Those honestly last years. I don't know that they ever actually go bad. So the alcohol definitely does preserve it. It pulls out all of the great constituents of the herb, and there you go. Then you've got it. The next one is natural pain relief, and I combine 2 herbs, wild lettuce and white willow bark. As you can see, the white substance in the middle, that is what is coming out of the wild lettuce, and that is actually the active ingredient in wild lettuce that is a pain reliever. People have called it opium, natural opium in the past. That's how strong it really works on pain. And then on the right side is dried white willow bark, and so I combine the 2 of these, dried wild lettuce and the wild white willow bark, and I combine them for pain relief. So white willow bark is really good. They call it nature's aspirin. It's very high in salicin. It's really good for aches and pains, headaches. It does reduce inflammation, and it does lower fevers as well naturally. And then wild lettuce, like I said, they called it natural opium. And it is really good for even insomnia, anxiety, and it actually even helps with coughing as well. There have been studies on WebMD that show that that the effects of wild lettuce has been comparable to ibuprofen. So, and we know that ibuprofen is not good for the gut. So anything natural that you can take for pain is really good. So that's why this is number 3 that I recommend in your home medicine cabinet. So you can prepare these as a tincture. You mix together both the willow bark and the lettuce, both dried, put them in a jar just like you saw in the previous video, fill it to the top with at least 80 proof vodka or higher. Let it steep for 4 to 6 weeks, and then you are ready to use it. And I recommend always going low and slow. You can do a few drops to make sure it doesn't react. You don't have any reaction. You can use 1 to 2 mils, which is equal to 20 to 40 drops. You can also put this in an empty vegetable vegetable capsule, and that way you're not tasting it because it can be a little bit bitter. Or you can put it under your tongue sublingually, and that tends to absorb into your bloodstream a lot quicker. But again, always start low and slow. Now, one thing I do need to say with this, because it has aspirin qualities, you do not want to give this to children for the risk of Rye syndrome, which is a similar warning that you can see on aspirin. Because this does thin your blood, just like aspirin, you want to discontinue this before surgery or any type of chemotherapy treatment because of a bleeding risk. If you're taking blood thinners like warfarin, Coumadin, you do not want to take this. And anybody with an aspirin sensitivity, you want to be careful. So even though these are natural herbs, they still have reactions, especially for taking other medications. You want to just be careful because it can thin your blood. So again, low and slow, watch for personal sensitivity or reactions. Now, the next one is something you're probably all familiar with, and that's elderberry and echinacea. Elderberry is a beautiful flower, as you can see on the left, and that's what it looks like dried. And then the elderberries on the right look pretty close to that when they're dried. And these are just powerhouses for immune support. So echinacea is really good for cold fighting and immune boosting. Immediately when you start to feel a cold come down, you want to start taking these. Lab studies do show that it increases your white blood cell count. And of course, those attack foreign invaders and protect from infection. Elderberry is super good. They called it the medicine chest by Hippocrates in 400 BC. They used it way back then for colds. It's very high in antioxidants and vitamin C. It can ease cold and flu symptoms and also even can support heart health and reduces inflammation. So herbs are just so amazing. They usually affect more than one body process. That's why I just love using natural herbs. This is great as a tea. So what I recommend on this one is 1 teaspoon of dried echinacea, 1 teaspoon of dried elderberry, and you simmer it in 2 cups of water for about 10 to 15 minutes. Just strain it. You can add honey if you'd like, or ginger or lemon or anything to help with the taste, but usually it's not a bad flavor and it's very good for you. Now, you can also make it as a tincture or a glyceride as well. Put all the herbs into a jar, fill it with 80 proof or plus higher vodka, let it steep for 4 to 6 weeks, and then you can put it in a jar or a dropper bottle and use that way as well. It's a great one to have on hand. Number 5 is one of my favorites as well. Garlic infused honey. I need to make this again. I have not made it in a little bit, but basically it is super easy. You are just taking some garlic cloves and putting it into honey and letting it steep. So garlic is absolutely wonderful. Again, we're all familiar with the benefits probably of this, but it's antimicrobial, antioxidant, very immune boosting, fights infection, including staph, pneumonia, and salmonella. It's like an antibiotic, and it also helps prevent antibiotic-resistant infections, which I think is great. This also soothes sore throats because of the honey in it, and it calms coughs. Really good for children a lot of times if they don't have to take the garlic part, but even the honey that has the garlic infused in it will help with their cough. It also can support heart health, cholesterol, and blood pressure. And I believe the fermentation of the whole thing also boosts nutrient bioavailability and gut health. So again, you want to peel the fresh garlic cloves. I recommend peeling natural ones versus buying a bag that's already peeled, but you certainly can do that as well. Place it into a clean jar, cover completely with raw honey, and then burp the lid daily because it will tend to build up some pressure, and then let it ferment. And honey infuses with garlic over time, and you can take the honey and eat the garlic as well. If you eat 1 clove a day for prevention, it tends to help with colds. And you can also add it to teas. Last is magnesium oil. This is super easy to make. Most of us are deficient in magnesium. Our soil is deficient, and our body uses magnesium for about 300 functions in the body. Because we're not really getting enough from our foods these days, we do need to supplement. Unfortunately, our gut is poor at absorbing magnesium, and so it tends to absorb it better topically. It bypasses the gut entirely. Magnesium is so good for restless legs, anxiety, if you have trouble sleeping, if you need help relaxing. It's really good to put on your feet before bed. So I'm going to show you how to make it. It's super easy. You just take warm distilled water. You don't want it to be boiling. And you mix it with equal parts of magnesium flakes that I just showed you in that picture that you can buy at natural grocers or Whole Foods. You want to dissolve that into the distilled water, and that is it. It will make an oil, and let it cool. Put it in a spray bottle, and you can rub it on your feet before bed, or put it on the inside of your elbow, and it will absorb into your bloodstream. So I highly recommend supplementing with natural magnesium oil. Sometimes it can make your skin a little bit itchy, so you can also add it to a natural lotion as well. So that is it. It is super easy to do these remedies and to make them yourself. You know what you're getting when you make it yourself, and once you get confidence to do that, then you can branch out and make a bunch of different kinds. And hopefully this has taken the mystery out of working with herbs. And if you have any questions or anything at all or comments, feel free to place a comment down below, and I will be happy to answer any questions that you have. I hope that's been helpful for you, and I look forward to talking to you all again soon. Have a great day.
Thanks for staying and watching Tammy's teaching. We're going to have more on here. We're going to teach on oils, essential oils. We have someone I ran into today that does something called the healing touch, not Reiki. This is a therapeutic healing touch. I hope to be able to get him to speak to us as well. We'd really like to tap into some more natural healings. I'd really like to add that to this channel as well. Please give us a like, share, and a subscribe, and God bless you. We'll see you next time. We have more to come. Stay tuned.